the Monday before Samhain, 2024 at 4 p.m. As most of the public is probably unaware of, we actually start setting up our encampment for days before the Las Vegas Ren Fair, or Renaissance Festival the Monday night before the Las Vegas Ren Fair. We have to load the trucks that are bringing the Royal Pavilion, as well as the Royals' tents, the kitchen, the gate, the walls, as well as many other of our camping needs. A lot of setup must be done, including but not limited to setting up our tents, moving our food, water, and belongings in, as well as putting up the walls to keep out the outsiders. A lot of man-hours and planning go into putting our little encampment together. It is all laid out according to a map that has been drawn by our Emperor Ivan Sigil for Romanov. First, the throne room is put up, and then the Royal Pavilion. Everything else is then set up around them. This is a painstaking job that must be done by a crew of at least 10 people. We usually get as many as 20 to 30 people show up to help put up the encampment. It is a lot of work, and we have many dedicated members in our group. We then have to put up the gate and start to put the walls. People are also unloading other supplies like food, firewood, and water that we will need for the encampment. It's truly an impressive amount of stuff. After all, we will be here at least 5 days. An intrepid few of our people are actually going to be staying in the encampment overnight, from Tuesday on, to keep our belongings safe. There are still many homeless individuals that inhabit the park, and they have been known to steal. Finally, we start to bring in our personal tents to put them up, as well as our clothing, or garb as we call it. We will need as well as supplies, such as personal water, food, snacks, as well as our garb, or costumes, and the like. You see, there is food that we share with each other and water, as well as personal food and water. Part of what we pay is that all those that are going must contribute at least 5 gallons of bottled water to the campsite. Some bring quite a bit more, knowing that we do live in a desert. This is to ensure drinking water as well as dish cleaning water. The personal water is more for personal hygiene, as well as to ensure drinking water for individuals at night. Usually, most of this is done by Thursday afternoon. After the gate and walls are set up, we insist that people use the front gate. We're strange. We want people to use the front door. We also set a guard at the gate. After all, we just can't let just anyone into our little camp. For the next 5 days, this will be home for many of us. Now, a very basic kitchen is being set up, complete with camping stoves and running water. This way, we can safely prepare meals for ourselves, as well as coffee, tea, and other hot beverages for the mornings. Waking up after camping outside and knowing that there is water for hot morning drinks is a truly wonderful thing. It also provides general drinking water for all. We always have at least 2 large containers with ice water set up in our throne room, which we share with all who have cups and/or mugs. We have a limited number of mugs for loan that we clean after every use. For those that don't, we provide commercial bottled water. Many fairgoers are very appreciative of this, being that it could get into the upper 80s to low 90s during the day. And remember, it's a very dry heat, and you can get very dry and very fast. We have had more than a few people come close getting very ill, a major problem in the desert. Also, many people are drinking alcohol, which can lead to severe dehydration, which could really dry you out. A very real danger. People should be more careful. They are not, though. We also set up a nice little fighting field that is maybe 30 feet, x20 FD, and it is called a fighting Eric, which is set up for us to play in as well as to entertain the fairgoers. It consists of a double rope enclosure with an entryway that we fight inside of. We wouldn't want people to get too close to the fighting. It definitely would not be good for their health. The fighting we do is all part of the show we put on, our getting into our armor and fighting, plus we really enjoy it ourselves. Now, our armor weighs anywhere from 40 to 60 pounds and looks like it came from the medieval era. The swords that we use are made of rattan and weigh 3 to 5 pounds. This is so our opponent can feel a strike without the obvious dangers of a steel sword. Rattan gives, steel does not. Steel also thin, maybe 1/8 of an inch thick as opposed to the inch thickness of the rattan we use. We also fight with shinai, which are slotted bamboo practice swords, that we must wear a 3-weapons fencing mask, as well as long sleeve garb for protection, as well as gloves. Elbow and knee protection are suggested, but optional. We also do a style of fencing with flexible steel fencing blades called Schlager blades, for which you must have a 3-weapons mask. A padded gambeson, which is basically a long padded coat to protect your body or an equivalent. Steel elbow and knee protection, as well as heavy gloves, minimally leather welding gloves. Without such, you could seriously be injured. You also have to pass our very strict training standards, just to be able to step out on our combat fields for any level of fighting. Safety first. We wish all to be safe. We don't want to break out toys those that we fight against. Our encampment looks very nice once it's finished, thanks to the direction and hard work of the Majesties and the other members of the Empire. We also have a literal field of flags, which I, for one, must admit, are very impressive to look at. Many fair-goers have tried to purchase these flags from us over the years. Needless to say, we did not sell them. We have a king, good King Edward, as well as an emperor, him Ivan Sigilfur Romanov, and our wonderful empress, him Anastasia Romanov. The full names are actually much longer than that. I have shortened them for expediency's sake. Also, we have the king of the Serafini Islands with us, King Tiberius, as well as King Tardus next. And there are others. Yes, we are a little top-heavy. Our throne room has 8 thrones sitting in it for the various majesties, as well as for some of the visiting dignitaries whom come to visit the majesties. Being that they are king and queen of fair, they all get many visitors. This all must come totally together before Friday morning, when the Ren Fair opens to the public. Usually, Thursday night, we are given wristbands so that we can go in and out of the fair to do our shopping, as well as to pick up some more supplies as needed. Also, not everyone stays at the Ren Fair overnight. Some of us do go home to sleep and or clean up. Most, when they return, bring more ice and water for the group. Being at Ren Fair, it is not a cheap undertaking by any means. Most of us have thousands of dollars invested between garb, clothing, armor, tents, weapons, and the like, plus the research time that goes into the personas that we play. Some of us also take time off of work without pay. This is a passion. We as a group are portraying a 15th century Imperial Russian court. Being that my character is a Mongol warrior, it is very different, to put it mildly. For any who know the history of the Mongols and the Rus or Russians, if you know your history, it makes for an interesting dichotomy. If you don't, both the Russians and the Chinese are deathly afraid of the Mongols, even to this day, actually even before the days of Genghis Khan. Also, fairs are very demanding on those of us that play there. We are on stage dealing with the public from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, as well as 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday, and then we have to start breaking down our encampment. There is plenty of partying at night after fair closes, usually going into the wee hours of the morning on Friday and Saturday night. It is difficult to get enough sleep sometimes, for there is so much to do, so much going on, and not enough time to do it all. Much food is eaten and alcohol drunk. We also set a 24-hour guard on our camp to keep outsiders out as well as ourselves safe. So, we keep the outsiders where that they belong, not in our encampment, especially at night. If we do not know them, it is hard to trust them. It's really that simple. This Ren Fair starts just like any other, with the sound of a cannon going off. But an hour before opening, which is 10 a.m., we usually hold a short court, where some jobs are assigned, as well as the schedule for the day is announced. We get some of those announcements from the parks and rec people, who organize the fair to begin with at a meeting that they call morning notes. Friday morning and into the early afternoon is when the children from various schools come to visit the Ren Fair. So, we try to put on a real good show for these school children who come by to visit us in the morning on Friday. Till early afternoon, we and the Majesties put on a show for the public on Friday. We invite many of the children from the visiting schools who come into our camp to meet the Majesties, as well as to visit the royal court. We even knight some of these children purely for their entertainment. I have to admit, many of the children entertain us too. They are so cute. The children are generally impressed by all of this. They will have good stories to tell their friends and parents. It can be a lot of fun at times. We do try to entertain the public, as well as try to do some recruiting. Recruiting, after all, is how any group grows. We also do some fighting in our fighting area also on Friday to entertain as well. We enjoy the fighting ourselves. Many of us are very skilled in this area, having won tourneys as well as having fought in wars with and against other groups. Now, those rattan swords can hurt a little bit, but we are trying to kill our friends, not injure them joking, which does happen from time to time, injuring them that is. After all, we are engaging in a combat sport. In our game, you kill by delivering a solid shot to the body or head. Hence the armor 40 pounds or more, as well as the helms that weigh at least 15 pounds. If you are on the receiving end of a blow, you may reply, "Good shot, my lord," and accept your death. After all, you'll be alive again in a minute or two, or if there isn't sufficient force, we may tell our opponent that his blow is too light. Then we line up and do it all again. It's a game of strength, courage, and skill. There are also a huge number of merchants at fair who sell everything that you can think of a medieval bent to improve how we look, including but not limited to toys, weapons, both show and combat quality, garb, leather goods, books, jewelry, and lots of other neat stuff. They even sell the pavilions that we use. It's a true medieval marketplace. Toys, 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 and even more toys. It is definitely a lot of fun to look through. I have known some of the merchants personally for many years, so it is fun to catch up with them, also to see what new goodies that they may have. My favorite, of course, is the ones who sell combat quality swords and knives. Also, the leather shop always has interesting stuff. I love the toys. Also, people selling all kinds of clothing, some of it fantasy oriented, as well as whips. And can you say food? A huge variety of food and drink is present, including beer, sarsaparilla, turkey legs, meat pies, tacos, hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken, and even a couple of full-service medieval-style restaurants that supply entertainment as well as the food that they serve, as well as many things that I cannot currently think of. The food court always seems to be full of people buying food. This is why I bring my own food and drink. I do not feel like waiting for 30 minutes just to grab lunch or dinner, not to mention the sky-high prices that they charge. It's a captive audience mentality. Still, exploring the Ren Fair is also a lot of fun, and all of us do it. So, as well as us looking for new toys, we also look to make new friends. Running around Ren Fair is a heck of a lot of fun. It's one of the true joys of my life, at least for me. The Ren Fair draws vendors here in Las Vegas from all over the country. I guess it's that profitable for them as well. Unfortunately, one of the big negatives of the Ren Fair is an almost total lack of true bathrooms. We have to use porta potties, you know, like you would usually find on a construction site. Yuch, it's what that they have, and we have to make do. Unfortunately, there also is truly no real good place for us to wash up, no running water, which is one of the reasons that we bring our own water, soap, as well as other toiletries. It helps us feel more human. By the end of the fair, the first thing I usually want to do is to hop into a shower to wash all the dirt, grime, and sweat off of my body. Do you blame? Any of the other things to do during Ren Fair as a group is to go to the main arena and to watch the jousters do their thing. They put on the shows a day on Friday and Saturday, one on Sunday. Now the first show is scheduled for when that the children are still here, around 1 p.m. if I remember. The royal court, led by the imperial majesties, and a good part of our group usually go to watch. After all, the imperial majesties are the king and queen of fair. First time you see the jousters, it could be a lot of fun. I go because my job is bodyguard to His Imperial Majesty, as well as to help to safeguard our own children who attend the jousts. After all, we wouldn't want any of the children in our group disappearing, now would we? The day's show is okay, even though I've seen it over a dozen times. Unfortunately, they haven't updated what they do. It gets more than a little boring to me after a while, like any other performance you've seen too many times.